So these trans women can get period cramps. I mean,
I've never seen research ever that corroborates that.
No, I know. So
really?
it's the opposite either. So I don't know why
you're supposed to prove a negative.
I'm just saying the body's complicated.
Is this guy trolling
My
or?
grandma was a white woman. She's wonderful. Hey, what's up?
Hi, what's up?
Sorry, let me just. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Hello.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, do you want my video on? That good? I don't know if you give a shit.
No.
Okay, sounds good.
Alright, what's
Alright. Yeah. So I've
Actually,
seen
got a video on.
like a dozen times over the last like 2 goddamn years. Yeah. So I just wanna. I assume that someone at this point has been willing to call you out on your shit here, but I guess I gotta be the grown person in the room. So.
One is calling this,
this reminds me a year or so ago.
calling him out.
Running around Twitter saying that they were having periods. And you've mentioned this quite a bit of times, where you're basically saying that like trans women are saying they can have periods. This is ridiculous, as trans women obviously don't have a uterus. This is making the trans community seem deranged and paints trans people as delusional. Do you think that's fair to say?
Sure.
Okay. I guess where do you think you're coming from? Sorry, I'm worried with that was a little aggressive.
Yeah, where I'm coming from, Jesus, still.
Yeah, true. I'm sorry. Why do you feel like that's a fair? Why do you think that's a delusional take? I'm just.
Because trans women don't have anything to do with periods or anything.
They don't have uteruses, right?
Well, and they don't have like the cycle hormones, and they don't have they just don't have the machinery to
yeah. So from my perspective, I mean, they're literally pumping themselves full of estrogen. Do you think it would be ridiculous to say that they might not have some knock-on effects of externality where they're experiencing some aspects of a period, but obviously not like menstruation?
Yes, it would be ridiculous.
Okay. Well, okay. So I feel like
It's actually delusion. What the?
Quick voice chat, okay?
Yeah,
so you have something called PMS, which stands for premenstrual syndrome, and then you got the actual period itself, which is where the uterine linings are shed, the egg is ejected, and all the rim shit comes out of you over the course of a few days. Okay, when a cycle is around, what is it, like 27 days or something, some shit like that. Okay,
Sure.
PMS has some symptoms associated with it. A period has some symptoms associated with it. Sometimes we colloquially refer to PMS and the period as a quote unquote period, like oh she's grumpy because she's on a period. Oftentimes we're talking about PMS, whatever. The dramatic mood swings that are associated with people say a period, what they mean is PMS. I believe those dramatic mood swings are because there is a cycle of hormones that happens with a woman's body as she is experiencing her natural ovulation, ejection, etc. When you're a trans person, you're not having that same cycle back and forth. You're not having the. You might have a bit of a like depending on how often you do your injections, depending on what your method is. You might have like a feeling like a week after of like a different kind of mood swing because you're right when you inject. If you do it, I don't know if you do it monthly, tri-monthly, what the thing. If I know like for testosterone, if you're on deer, whatever, right? You might inject, you might feel like.
Okay, so ito pala emotional.
Like that kind of cycle, but that has nothing to do with the period or with PMS. That's something that would be unique to exogenous hormones.
I feel like you're.
Yeah, this is actually physical
this is coming from estrogen necessarily. That we can't necessarily compare this to. Like I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think if you ask any of these trans women who say that they're having periods, that they would say they're having menstruation, right? That they're bleeding out of their.
But somebody literally said they were the big tweet. They got almost 100,000 likes.
So I saw the tweet. Yeah, I got that tweet. They said okay here. I don't know. Well, I mean there've been a few. So one of them is okay. I'm a trans woman who's experiencing her first period cramps, and what the fuck? I've literally never felt pain like this. Why do we let people live like this? And this came on my radar because you tweeted about it. But if you look down the thread, they said I literally don't even have a uterus. Why is my body treating me like this?
Yeah, it's called mental disability / delusion / too much time on Twitter.
Yeah. I could pull up like fairly reputable sources that say that like estrogen can affect the body in various ways, and transgender women may experience several side effects while taking supplemental estrogen. Like I'm not saying that we have full data on this, but there has been.
If we're gonna have this conversation, we need to be very precise. Okay.
Yes.
Mood swings and stuff related to your biology can happen whether you're on TRT or HRT. Of course.
Okay.
Things like period cramps or like the cyclical up and downs that would be associated with PMS probably are not happening.
I agree that it could be the case that this isn't happening, but wouldn't you say that it's better to just research this and find out if this is actually occurring?
I've never seen research ever that
I agree.
corroborates it.
No, I know. So you haven't seen any research that the opposite either. So I don't know
How are
what
you supposed to prove a negative?
I mean,
I'm not saying
there's no research
you have to say
then.
that trans people are having a period. I'm just saying maybe you can sit this one out until research happens. Research comes along and says, oh yeah,
we can't have research. If a trans man was out here saying like, God, now I find out what blue balls feels like, this is excruciating. I'm gonna call him retarded. I'm gonna study to tell me you can't have blue balls, you can have balls.
I don't feel like they're saying that they have blue balls though. I'm not saying they're not saying that they're bleeding out of their uterus if that's what they were saying. Or
cramps are caused by the uterus.
Not necessarily. There is hormonal.
Not necessarily.
Anything about female reproduction, so if you want to educate me, then go for it. I don't know how hormones cause cramps. My understanding is that the cramping is because the muscles in the uterus are squeezing and doing shit to expel the lining or whatever they get used when you're pregnant. That's cramps. Cramps are not just a fluctuation in hormones. They're like the organ uterus.
No, I know. So how do you explain that hysterectomy? The people after hysterectomies.
He knows. I mean,
One, I don't know if that's true. Two,
not sure.
there are different types of hysterectomies, is my understanding. So, for instance, a hysterectomy doesn't always mean the full removal of every single part of the female reproductive system. And three, some people do experience ghost pain related to missing limbs, so that might explain it. However, going all the way back to the first one, I've never heard of people hysterectomy so get like period cramps. I don't know if that's true.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I can send you sources if you want, but what I will get at is I think that it's a little premature, especially considering the lack of research that's going on in the trans community, which I'm sure that you're aware of. I don't think that you're an idiot, especially regarding trans issues. Like there's a chasm of research that just has not been done on trans people for you to just overwhelmingly point to it and say, yeah, I understand that the human body is really complicated.
What's the research then? I mean,
research onto how exactly estrogen.
No. You haven't given me anything for this at all. And I don't believe you about the hysterectomy thing. I'm just googling. So this is saying that about 2 to 3% of women who have had hysterectomy develop a new pain problem, surgery because we specialize in the evaluation of pain. We have to blah blah blah. Okay, the pain comes from scar tissue that is formed during the healing process of the original hysterectomy. When this scar involves one or both ovaries, those are things that trans women don't have generally. The pain may occur in monthly cycles in a pattern similar to menstrual discomfort a person may have had before the hysterectomy. So this doesn't sound like traditional period cramps. Sounds like something different.
I want to understand where you're coming from. Do you feel like trans women, when they take a lot of this estrogen, they are experiencing fluctuations and maybe some pain, but they are misattributing that to period cramps?
Fluctuations? Maybe. I guess it depends on the types of dosing or how they do HRT. I've heard of, and there's Stryker was already fucking reading the fuck out, even though they are probably not 100% correct. I've heard a lot of different methods for how people do HRT. I've heard some people say they do daily injection. I've heard some people say they do monthly, and I've heard some people say longer things. I don't know what is the standard right now.
but not the period
Regular dose of hormones. Then no, I don't think you're gonna have like a monthly cycle. Also, I don't think that a fluctuation in hormones explains cramps. No, I don't believe that.
I don't think that it's as absurd as you're putting it, and I think that it's not absurd enough for you to say you just point to
how is it
so
not
many
absurd?
people because the body is complicated. I don't know how to say it other than that, but like when you're introducing something with such a
that's a big statement.
I would assume that the estrogen that you're putting into your body so much so that your body is primed to recognize all of these additional hormones and might confuse itself or something like that.
Women that are on like you can get an injection or implant because you don't have a period for a fucking year. They still have estrogen in their body. Why do they have period cramps?
saying the body's complicated. I'm
That's
not
not an answer.
saying.
That doesn't answer anything. Like 20 inches long, even though it was only 7 inches long yesterday or whatever. How is that possible? Well, the body's complicated. You wouldn't accept that answer. That's not an answer.
I'm not. I don't know. I don't know.
That's a bad answer.
You can't have cramps. You don't have the thing that makes cramps.
I just feel like that this is such an unexplored area of science that for you to just point to it and say that it's absurd and say that it's ridiculous is frustrating to me.
How
Does that make sense?
Tell me how you could even explore this area.
Okay,
That you don't have. I don't even know. I wouldn't wait for a test on that. Like I said, if trans men were complaining about blue balls, would you say we need to study to figure out if they're actually experiencing it or not?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Why? Aren't hormones complicated?
Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying. I think that when I hear trans people say that they're having periods, what they point to first and foremost is just like it's kind of that cycle of emotions. You know?
Okay, no. Holy goalpost, Batman. Okay. If you want to talk about
Changing the goalposts.
Would you agree with that at the very least?
Yeah, hormones are definitely going to change your emotions.
Sure,
Absolutely.
but you don't think that period cramps could exist at all?
No, not really. No.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to hear that because I think that from what I've seen is there. It seems like that could be possible, and I'm interested. And I guess I'm just saying that I'm interested in hearing out a little bit more.
Okay.
Before I'm just going to label an entire community as batshit insane.
Well, it's not an entire community. It's just the lunatics on Twitter. I don't think normal trans people do this shit. It's just
I feel like I have normal trans friends who have said,
Yeah.
no, I have experienced cramping. I don't know what to call it necessarily because I don't have anything to attribute it to, right? Because I don't have this like.
Show me the online
Pure cramps as a cis woman. I have no idea what that feels like, but I am experiencing
Twitter and
and complaints about that.
It's probably just a stomachache or indigestion. That'd be my guess.
Right. Sure. Okay. Fair enough. I guess. Just another quick question, just because I'm curious about a few different things. The birthing person dialogue. I know you've been pretty frustrated with that one too, as far as I'm aware. Do you think that that's really an issue with trans people, or do you think that's an issue with the language being a little cringy?
I think the language is super cringy. And I think people.
Yeah. Do you feel like they call it like a birthing area or something like that? That doesn't sound fucking stupid.
Prior to like the trans any doctor anyway was worried about this ever. Like people act like, oh no, medical terminology is super normal. I don't believe that. I don't think that it's super normal. You would also like, oh yeah,
I don't think it's super normal either. I went to my sister-in-law just got pregnant recently, and it was just called maternity ward, and it was part of the women's center. Like, I don't think anyone's calling it a birthing person or they're using that language at all. But I'm wondering if that's such a bad idea that they're trying to be more inclusive. And maybe
here's the issue. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say that a whole bunch of new people started to say we want to go by she/her pronouns. Okay. And people traditionally didn't call them, she/her pronouns. Okay. That's probably fine. It's just their pronouns. We can use their pronouns. Who cares? Let's say instead though they came out and they were like, okay, listen, from now on women are going to go by these/her pronouns. All women are going to go by that. Well, the women that were previously she/her, like, wait, why the fuck is this incredibly small group now dictating to me what my new pronouns have to be? Like, I just want to use she/her like I did before. That's the issue. Is birthing person takes away the prior language that it seems.
Yeah, I don't think no one does that.
This new kind of like trans inclusive language that's changing what a prior group already referred to themselves as. That's why
wait, hold on.
He or she is fine, but
Get pregnant for sure, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. Do you feel like it's such a bad idea for us to use a little bit more inclusive language when we talk about maternity wards and maybe expanding it to make sure that it's all people instead of just women?
I think that the issue, if you're going to start changing language, the problem is that trans men are already a very small subset of the population.
Yeah, for sure.
Trans men that are getting pregnant are going to be even smaller subset of the population. And historically, there is a lot of gravity attached to women's issues, pregnancies, and abortions. And we're right now in the United States, we're taking like steps backwards insofar as our access to an abortion, right? So the idea that now we're also going to smear the language of like what is a woman and it's a birthing person now, that probably not a good idea. Probably a really politically bad idea.
Let me make sure I'm rephrasing your argument correctly. You feel like if we are using more gender inclusive language in hospitals, that it is going to set back women's rights?
I think that the women who feel like their rights are being infringed upon are definitely going to feel negatively about it. Yes.
I feel like they only feel negative about it, and I could be so wrong on this, but from what I've seen, the frustration that people have had is really the stupid ass cringy language like birthing person, which sounds like an alien describing
Here's the issue. Okay. This is the hard thing for women, okay? The hard thing for women is you exist at the behest of and for the pleasure and experience of men in society, okay? It's called the male gaze. Every facet of your existence is evaluated through how it feels from a man, right? And this
patriarchy.
Like pro or anti-women. Look at the health at every size thing, right? Why the fuck are men so upset about health at every size? Men have never given a fuck about women's health ever. They're mad about health at every size because now the women don't look
Because now they're kind of ugly,
yeah, they're fat. That's the only men never give a fuck, and they still don't give a fuck about women's health ever.
No,
guys
they
don't know shit about hormones or period or anything like that. They're just mad at health at every size thing because they want to fuck all the women. They want them to look fuckable even if they're not fucking them, right? So if you've lived your whole life where every facet of your existence is kind of analyzed through like the male gaze, right? And now which are like, okay, sure, that's fine. But now trans women are competing in your sports, are being forwarded as arguments why women's sports should be eliminated, are now trying to show up as women's areas like women's prison, and are now being used to relabel all women as like birthing people or people with the capacity for pregnancy. Yeah, I can and a lot of it is being pushed by cis white men.
Hold on. I would buy this argument if it weren't women overwhelmingly acceptable of these changes.
I don't know if women are overwhelmingly acceptable.
Well, if you look at trans acceptance, it's way higher in women than men.
Hold on, trans acceptance. That's like saying everybody's happy with like expanded healthcare. Trans acceptance is a very broad thing. I think the majority, my guess would be, even the majority of Republicans are probably okay with quote unquote trans acceptance. But yeah, but they're gonna no, actually, as long as they don't fuck with it, I don't care. But when you start getting things like we're gonna change how we refer to all women, or we're gonna include like trans women who immediately identify them into NCAA sports or female prisons, people are probably gonna feel a lot differently about those like the minutia of the issues, the actual precise issues, rather than just broadly speaking the quote unquote trans acceptance.
Okay, that's maybe fair, but I guess I don't know if. Okay, that's probably fair. But what I will say is that trans acceptance was too broad. But I also think that when you look at trans women in sports, the acceptance.
Yeah, they want to do trans in women's sports and all.
The same exact thing that you were critiquing about, like how women's health. People don't give a shit about women's swimming either until trans women are in it, and now they've got something to rage about. Where they weren't supporting women in sports at all until this shit got brought up.
Sure, I agree, but at least women had legal protections for their sports, like Title IX funding.
Yeah, sure. I honestly don't even want to get into the trans people in sports thing because that's not. I think that's probably fair. Depending on the sport.
Okay, so I don't know how active you are. So a person should be able to legally self-identify as a gender different from the one they were assigned at birth. It seems like most women agree with that. A transgender woman is a woman. It seems like most women partially disagree. Transgender man is a man, partially disagree. Transgender woman. It just seems like they were given a 1-5 on women.
So it's just women. It's not men versus women.
No, it's just women. Just women. I'm guessing. Okay. That sounds right. Transgender women should be allowed to partake in women's sporting events. Seems like that's a plurality disagree with that. Now, for all U.S. adults, they make
Wait, a plurality? What is the third option?
I don't know. It could be other women, men, and other. Maybe for trans people.
Well, you said plurality, meaning it's less than 50, right? I would think this is just a yes or no question. Sorry, I'm not seeing what's in front of you. Maybe I can pull it.
Okay, here you can go. Never mind. Just look at this. I don't think the exact for trans shit is how you think it is.
Okay. Sorry, just pulling this up. That's this.
Wait, what? Who said that?
Or wait, sorry. I'm a little nervous. I think
That's
let me make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry. I think that it's unfair to say that because women give so much shit about this, and this is being dictated by men to push women into to push trans women into women's sports. I don't know if that's a cis white guy attitude, and I think that it's unfair for you to say that.
Wait, I'm sorry. Could you say that one more time?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I'm stumbling all over my words. So I'm sure I'm rephrasing your argument correctly. What I thought you said was that it feels shitty to women for trans women to come into their community or into their sports, right, or into their bathrooms or whatever, and that's being dictated largely by an overwhelmingly male population.
Oh, there's at least a feeling of that, yeah.
Okay, I don't think that's a fair feeling. I don't know if it's men who are pushing that argument. I don't know if it's men who are pushing this ideology.
Why? They're doing it, but if any man is at all involved in that, I'm sure they can feel like there is this like encroachment on women's rights or spaces or movements by white cis men.
It feels here. Let me be a little bit upfront with you. It feels a little frustrating to me that you are so careful and so hesitant to make sure that women feel like even if there is a man involved, that this could be an encroach on their femininity. However, when we talk about trans people and they're overwhelmed, that you have so much sympathy towards cis women feeling encroached upon, and not necessarily on trans women who want to feel included.
Yeah, and I don't, because I don't think that real trans people feel this way. I don't think that real trans women are out there screeching about sports constantly. I don't think real trans women are I think this is online, like millennial or Gen Z trans people. I don't think these are.
I think every single person when they hear birthing person, they think the exact same thing. That's some cringy, dumbass. Sure. But I think that when it's like, oh hey, maybe we can use a little bit more gender inclusive language. I think most people are like, yeah, sure, that seems like a fine idea. Who the hell cares?
We're not talking about a little bit more gender inclusive language. We're talking about relating the person birthing person. That's a dramatic departure from.
I'm saying if you want to say birthing person,
can
we at least concede that using more inclusive language is a good thing, and maybe hospitals can start looking towards using gender inclusive language.
You gotta be honest about what you're saying, okay? Yeah. The problem isn't that we're using more gender inclusive language. The problem is we're replacing language, and that feels a lot different to some people. We're not just using new terms, we're replacing ones that we've already grown accustomed to.
I don't know how to use new terms.
Replacing one of the
cis and trans are like two theoretically new kind of things, right? They come from chemistry, biology, whatever. We can invent new terms. We're talking about replacing things we already like are well understood. Really important social places in our lexicon.
I'm not saying that we have to completely erase the entire idea of gender.
No one's saying I never said that either. I don't know why you even call that. Literally, no one here is saying that.
I thought you were implying
no. What I said very particularly was that we have words that we've already understood. Some of these women probably feel pretty strongly about because they're pretty tied into things relating to gender rights and abortion rights and reproductive health and everything in the United States. And now we're talking about changing some of those things that are already pretty well understood. Women probably feel about it again.
We should be more specific as well about what exactly we're talking about when we say that we're using more gender inclusive language, because we're not saying that if a person's just sitting in a hospital bed or about to give birth and someone comes in and just say, how's the birthing person doing, right? Like it depends on the context specifically. So we should talk about these specific contexts, and I think that it's fair to use more gender inclusive language. I don't think that's hurting anyone, and I do think that if someone's feeling like, wow, I'm not being seen because they called it a birthing area instead of a maternity ward, I would say that person's being a little ridiculous, and I don't know why you can't agree.
We're just trying.
What's up, my niggas?
Oh god. I'm sorry, repeat that last thing so I can just fucking
Okay.
It's all good. If I got it, that's fine.
There you go.
I think that if you are so critical of people being, if you want to point to people and say, hey, you're being ridiculous, I think that it's fair to say, hey, if someone is throwing a tantrum because we're calling it a birthing area instead of a maternity ward, you can call them a little ridiculous too.
I don't think I can actually. I don't know as a man if I can. It feels like this is like a fucking like.
I don't know why you can't be the spokesman of this specific person when you've been the spokesman of you've decided that you can't be a spokesman of so many trans issues.
Fighting, but I'm not because I fight for trans issues. This kind of sort of feels like a fight against women sometimes. Like I feel like it's validating a lot of the turfy rhetoric is when we get into these types of conversations, and that's the issue. And I gotta be really careful as a man when I try to those issues. It's weird that you're being careful now, but I don't feel like you're careful when you talk about the trans issues and acknowledging you're a cis person. I'm super careful about trans issues. What do you mean?
I feel like when you call people delusional because they're having period pains,
why you got banned.
I just joined. I have no idea. How's it going?
You know, keep going. You're killing him. Destiny's drowning.
Yeah, I know.
Being reasonable towards a group of people doesn't have to be reasonable towards everything. If a black person came up to me and they were like, yeah, black people are like the master race, they're genetically gifted to rule the planet.
No, of course. We can disagree with. We can call it black nationalism. 100%.
That is on the level of saying I have period cramps as a trans woman. That's on the same level.
Okay. I'll even agree with you. But when we talk about our issues with black nationalism, we should still be a little bit careful with our language, because when we talk about people like Malcolm X, we talk about people like Fred Hampton or Black Panthers just in general.
Wait, are you white? Are you white yourself?
I'm white. What's
so
up?
let me get this straight. For thousands of years, your people run the white power. We're the supremacy group. But now black people can't have what? A decade? Are you kidding me?
Wait, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Wait, no. What's your problem with Malcolm X?
Okay.
No. What I'm saying is, black nationalism is bad.
Interiorly conversation.
Black nationalism without disagreeing with their entire.
Why is black nationalism bad?
I think that segregating a community is generally having ethnocentric generally.
A community that's being gunned down by police officers of your skin color.
This is my point.
They have the right to segregate. They have the right to live. They have the right to be safe in their own
homes. Hold on. I feel like you're jumping into this argument. My entire point is that we should have sympathy towards these arguments while still disagreeing with them.
Why can't they say they're the master race?
I'm not saying they can't say it. My entire point is that we should have sympathy towards people saying that. We should hear that and say, okay, maybe this is a little bit different from white nationalists. Black nationalists are a little bit different than white nationalists, just generally based off of the centuries of discrimination that they've experienced. I think that that's fair to say when a white nationalist says that versus when a black nationalist says that. We should have sympathy towards one group while still disagreeing with them.
Well,
that's my point.
Well, again, my point is, why are you disagreeing with the black supremacist group? Why are you disagreeing with that?
I think that diversity is good. I think ethnostates are generally a bad thing. I can still have sympathy.
You say diversity is good because you don't want a purely African race. You want to mix them, don't you?
I want to mix that. I want
Yeah,
people to do whatever the fuck they want to do.
diversity is so good. Black people will literally be extinct, mixing their DNA with whatever. Why can't they protect their
Why?
own heritage? Why are you against that? Why are you white colonizers? Why are you against people protecting their own group?
People can do whatever the fuck they want to do, and if they want to just date black people, that's fine. They can go do that. But I don't think that you should criticize. I don't think that it's so bad if someone wants to say, no, yeah, diversity is good. We should whoever we want to have children with, whoever we want to have children with.
Okay, can white people say I just want to white people? Is that okay?
No. Well, they,
What the
No,
fuck?
what?
Hold on one second. I'm gonna have sympathy
Okay.
with one group more than another. I'm gonna have sympathy with a black person saying
Just
that
trolling at
if
this
a black person,
point.
then I'm gonna have more sympathy with saying, hey, the white people have done nothing but oppress me the entire time. I'm gonna say, hey, maybe that's considering our trajectory of the country. Maybe that's not the best situation. Maybe it turns out that integration does actually work and we can actually work together. And especially if we talk about Malcolm X, he believed that too after going on his Hajj to Mecca. I forget exactly the language. But after he came back, he realized that people can't all live together. People can't all work together.
Yeah, but why can't white people preserve their own color?
I don't think that that's a good. I don't think that that's a good thing to care about.
Why?
Because people who generally care about skin color are pieces of shit. I don't know.
So you're calling, are you calling Malcolm X a piece of shit then?
I think I can have more sympathy for him, but still criticize his idea that black people should just flee to Africa.
Wow.
Wow. You just want them to
Wow.
work for your white companies in USA. Is that what you want?
Yeah, you figured it out. You got me.
So Wakanda
You got
forever.
me.
You don't want a Wakanda?
I think the Black Panther's entire thesis was like, hey, we should have. I think it supports my view, which is, hey, we should have sympathy for these nationalists, but also recognize that diversity is a strength. I don't. That's not the craziest opinion.
Why can we not recognize that white people are the greatest people ever?
Because I don't agree with that.
But aren't they like
I just
literally?
don't like it personally. It just gives me the ick.
Why? The why? Like, what about them?
There's what the bless.
A white
Within
woman,
reason.
like Karen on the street, a white woman. Do you have a problem with her?
No, I don't have a problem with it. My grandma was a white woman. She's wonderful.
I'm telling you, most white people, they're wonderful. They're great.
What the fuck are you getting at, buddy?
I'm saying that when we talk about races, you should encourage them to be very proud of where they're from, because what happens in psychological warfare is when you disconnect someone from their roots, you break their will to fight. Meaning
I agree.
No, but you're trying to disconnect black people from Africa.
Oh, wait, hold on. I don't think that what I'm suggesting is in any way similar to like how slave owners would just blot out the history of slaves. I think what I'm encouraging is just like, oh yeah, we
No,
sympathize.
Oz, that's your problem. You think the transatlantic slave trade is the only black history. You'll never talk about African kings because you're programmed to just talk about American black people. You want to cut them.
Hold on. We need
from their ancestors. You want to cut them from their ancestors.
We
That's
need to
why.
acknowledge that they've been cut off from their ancestors. That the reason why they don't talk about African kings either is because they don't know where the fuck they come from. Because that's just been burned by slave owners 200 years ago.
And so when Malcolm X said we're going to make a super state in fucking Africa,
Yeah.
you disagree with that game plan where they actually get reconnected with their roots. You
Yeah.
disagree with that.
Yeah, I disagree with it, but I'm sympathetic to it.
Are you to disagree?
I
I
just
disagree with your fucking white bread mayonnaise life.
you do, and I'm allowing you to.
What if I disagree with you fucking you white guy hackers on LimeWire all day? That's all you white people know how to do is fucking hack. You're all hackers and StarCraft losers.
Huh?
Got him. Yep. No, I think I could be sympathetic to it. I could be
Just
sympathetic
pivot that to something
I
else.
don't think that's the craziest opinion I've ever had.
No, you're one of those guys who likes Martin Luther King more than Malcolm X, aren't you?
That is true. I do like Martin Luther King way more than Malcolm X, 100%.
Really, the man cheating on his wife?
Yeah. No, I know Malcolm X was
Wasn't Malcolm X literally the most consistent political operative in history? The most
consistent. What do you mean consistent? I think he changed his mind like 3-4
Malcolm
times.
X was better than Abraham Lincoln. Malcolm X, by any means necessary, was the greatest American who ever lived, and you're talking about Martin Luther King?
I have a lot of respect for Malcolm X. I think that he did a lot of shit that's really beneficial, but I'm also disagreeing with his position, which he did too. If you ask him later in his life, like a month before he died, he'd be like, yeah, a lot of the shit that I said was really inflammatory, really extreme. I take back a lot of the position. And he went to go work with MLK.
And so when he armed black men with rifles, were you against that too?
I'm sympathetic to it, but I do think that
pro-gun?
not really.
Oh, you're those people who think guns float around and kill people, right?
One of those liddies.
Yeah, not even Destiny shares that.
Okay, yes. Then again, there was at least entertaining conversation. Jack kind of derails the conversation there. So,